I've owned the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro 2023 and HyperX Cloud 3 wireless for several months now, and I just played a long session of Warzone with both of them, going back and forth to see which one of these gaming headsets is actually better for gaming. But before I answer that, we've got to take a step back and talk about the basics, the compatibility and connectivity of these two headsets. The Razer BlackShark V2 Pro 2023 is an updated version of the BlackShark V2 Pro that came out in 2020. It's got a better microphone, but what this device has is Bluetooth. It also has 2.4 gigahertz wireless, so there's a smart switch button on it. Talk about the controls in a little bit, but it can toggle between Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz wireless with that USB dongle. This has up to 70 hours of battery life, which has been, I don't know about that, maybe 45, maybe 50, I don't know about 70. But this device is compatible with the Switch, the PS4, PS5, and PC. Does not work on Xbox. It has a detachable microphone, but no integrated microphones. Now, I say that because if you have this Bluetooth with your phone and you're switching between your phone and your console, your PC, you're not gonna be able to actually like take calls with this unless the mic is actually in. I mean, you can take the call, but you won't be able to speak back because your phone will probably be taking the audio from the headset itself. So do keep that in mind. Now, the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless, pretty straightforward. Wireless version of the Cloud 3. Same compatibility, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC, but does not work with Xbox. This is an Xbox issue. You've got to have special branding so that you can get the security chip. It's a licensing thing. Don't blame HyperX, don't blame Razer. Now, this does not have Bluetooth, and that kind of leads into why this has such a lot longer battery life. This has 120 hours, up to 120 hours of battery life. Now, I haven't been able to quantify if it gets quite that high, because that's a pretty insane number to really like measure. So it's very high. It's definitely way higher than the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023, but I don't know about 120 exactly. Detachable microphone on this thing. As far as the range on both of these, like if you're going like any more than like 25 feet, they're gonna start cutting out both of these devices. So I wouldn't say that like that's a bad thing. Like if you're on your couch, like you're pretty much not gonna have any problems. If you're going like all the way like across like the hall or something like that, then it might start cutting out for both of them. And this does use a USB dongle. It uses Type C, and there's also an adapter for Type A that comes in the box. Now, super quick the controls on the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023. There's a mic mute button. Then there's the power button. Got a USB-C port for charging, also to do firmware updates. I like the volume knob on the outside of the headset itself. Now, this is infinite scroll. And then there's a smart switch button. And this will actually do a few things. If you double tap it, it will switch from the Bluetooth to 2.4 gigahertz wireless and vice versa. If you hold it in, it will change the EQ presets that you can control, because you can do like, I'll show that in the software section, different presets that are esports presets for different games specifically, and then like game, music, and movie, and it will switch between those. And if you just tap it once, then it will cycle through the EQ preset. So it'll take a little bit of time to get used to that button, but it's really cool when you actually do. Buttons on the Cloud 3 wireless. We got the infinite scroll volume wheel, the USB-C port, pretty much the same thing as the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023. Power button, of course, mic mute button. And if you do press the power button, it'll actually say the amount of battery life that there is there. So the controls and connectivity are pretty straightforward on these headsets. Now let's dive into headphone audio quality, because this is one of the most massive differences between these two headsets. So starting off with the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023, I played this with the default settings, but I've also played it on the Call of Duty preset. I played it with a bass boosted one also, but the Call of Duty preset was so obnoxious. The bass gets boosted, pretty much everything. There's 1 kilohertz gets boosted, then everything under it except for the sub bass. The sub bass doesn't go up, so it doesn't really make like super deep rumbles and stuff like that stand out from the rest of the mix. It just kind of jumbles a lot of stuff together. I really don't like that preset. When I was just running up to like a house, I was like, are those someone else's footsteps or are those my footsteps? There's a plane going by. I can't really hear. There's so much stuff happening, but the sound separation is just terrible with that preset. And then when you combine that with the fact that the drivers themselves, they just don't have that level of detail and sound separation and that really kind of impactful sub bass. Now, I don't need the sub bass to actually like thump when I'm playing Call of Duty, but I do need it to be something that I feel, as opposed to like trying to listen out for it. And that's something that I just have never been a fan of Razer's drivers, the Triforce drivers, when it comes to that. So for me, footsteps do not stand out. Some people really love these, but it wasn't a good experience playing Call of Duty. It didn't like really hurt my experience that much as far as actually listening out for enemies. But when there was a lot of stuff going on, I was like, man, I really wish that I was wearing something else. And when it comes to immersion, I know that I'm showing Call of Duty gameplay. There's just not that level of fullness in the bass. The treble, it's really tinny up there. It's really like airy and thin. It doesn't have like that crystal sharp detail, but that's not too harsh. Kind of like if you were listening to like Spotify or maybe YouTube Music or something, you turn the quality down to low and you're not really sure like what is going on there. There's just a lot of like layers of the sound that are missing. That's kind of what you get with the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023. Night and day difference with the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless though. This doesn't have crazy bass, doesn't have the level of power of like the Astro 850, the PC38X from Epos, but it has enough for competitive gaming. The clarity is really good. It's not perfect. Like right now I'm wearing the Odyssey Maxwell. This and the Penrose are definitely at the top. The Penrose actually was the first gaming headset that I've worn where when there was a precision airstrike, also the cluster strike, but just more so too specifically the precision, where I could hear that and then also hear footsteps. That's not quite gonna happen in the Cloud 3. Maybe if it's kind of far away, but the sound separation is still really good. It's just not quite to the level of the Maxwell. Now the highs in the Cloud 3 wireless are not as harsh as they are in the Cloud 2 and the Cloud 2 wireless. The bass doesn't quite get that thump action like I said. You can EQ it up a little bit if you want for more immersive games, but it's never really gonna be super satisfying if you're someone that really does like a lot of bass. But I felt like I had just such good awareness of enemies when I was playing with the Cloud 3 wireless. The soundstage is also wide, but it doesn't sound like artificially wide. Like the thing with the BlackShark V2 Pro is it kind of has like this super thin, airy type of sound. You hear like the wind kind of, but you don't hear a lot of the detailed individual sounds. Whereas the Cloud 3 wireless, you hear basically everything. You hear the ambience of the wind, but you also hear like the rumbles and stuff like that. You hear the gunshots from far away. Everything is kind of here in the mix. I think you kind of picking and choosing the individual sounds that you can hear well in the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023. And for music, BlackShark, it was just, I could listen to maybe for about 10 minutes, even like just listening like to podcasts and stuff like that, but I couldn't listen to it for very long. Music and other media, Cloud 3 wireless, a whole lot better. Personally, like I say, I like a lot more bass when it comes to immersive games, when it comes to general media. But if you're mostly going to be using this for competitive gaming, then this is perfect. And of course, you can alter the EQ in NGENUITY. But even when EQing both of them, the drivers of the Cloud 3 wireless are just so much superior. These take a lot more to distort. Pretty much you can't distort them, at least in the sub bass, when you go up like even like 8 or 9 dB. But this, you're going to get a lot of blaring and it's just not going to have that full level, not that body to it. Now this is a demonstration of the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless microphone. As far as the clarity, really good. Background noise rejection is not amazing and you can't really turn on any filters at all in the NGENUITY software, but that was just some keyboard typing. It actually does a pretty good job still. The issues that I have with this microphone really come down to the tonality, a little bit thin, a little bit nasally. A lot of headset microphones are like that. This isn't quite as good as the Cloud 3 wired, but it is a really good gaming headset mic. Also, there is mic monitoring with the Cloud 3 wireless, but it's not super loud. You can kind of hear yourself, but if there's a lot of stuff going on, like as far as like in your actual headset, then you're not going to really hear it at all. Obviously, the competition isn't really that strong, except the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro. Demonstrate that right now. Now, the microphone of the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro 2023 is even better than the Cloud 3 wireless, and you also get some EQ here. So let me go ahead and just go into this one. This is the only one that I really messed with at all. It's broadcast. Now, you can make your own custom ones if you want to. There's also side tone in here. The side tone with the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless, by the way, it is an option, mic monitoring, but it's just super quiet, so pretty much useless. For the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023, the side tone of this is actually really good, so I'm going to turn it down so that you can't hear it in the microphone just in case. So by default, this is how the background noise rejection is with a little bit of keyboard typing. Now I'm going to switch over and put this vocal clarity on, and this is what it sounds like here. And this is something that, you know, if you really want these individual filters, personally, I kind of like to leave it like stock by itself. This is just the default sound by itself, and I'm going to go ahead and put the mic noise cancellation on, and this should really cut out a little bit more of the keyboard typing. Go ahead and do a little bit of that here. We have volume normalization to make sure that you don't get too loud or too quiet. It just kind of brings the volume like to a pretty even level. And then there's also a voice gate. I hate noise gates in general. So this microphone overall is the best that I've used on a gaming headset. It's not too sibilant. The pulse width rejection is decent, could be better even with this pop filter. It's but with good placement, it's not really a problem. The tonality is great. It's one of the more full microphones that are on gaming headsets, and it doesn't have that muffled sound to it either. And the background noise rejection, as I demonstrated, is pretty natural even with nothing on. It just kind of blocks out the keyboard typing just because it's not a crazy sensitive microphone. Really good microphone overall. Best gaming headset mic that I've used. Looking for even better because this is something that gaming headsets could really improve on. So this is the HyperX NGENUITY software. A lot of different features, pretty much the same thing that you could do with the Cloud 3 wired, but in my experience, this actually works. The Cloud 3 wired, none of the equalizer options actually did anything for me. Like, you can change here. This is by default, it's bass boost, but I just, altered it just so that I could give an example and just hear kind of what it is. But you can change all of these different ones as well. Some of these are pretty mild. Clarity is something that I really don't like. I don't like boosting mids for gameplay when it comes to that, but you can hear like vocals a little bit better, but it just makes everything kind of jumbled up together. Anyway, there is also DTS spatial sound, something I dislike because it just kind of adds, like, it makes it sound more airy, but cuts down a lot of the bass, so it kind of ignores some of the stuff that you did over here. Again, the mic monitoring, you can change the microphone volume if you want to, then the volume of the actual headset, but you can control that yourself, so there's not really too much reason to need to do that. Pretty basic software. You can't do anything with the microphone itself. I really don't have any complaints with it. It just is decent and actually works. Now, Razer Synapse is a lot more fully featured. It actually does work. See, the thing with Synapse is there's a lot of different like modules, I guess it is, if I go back to here, and like devices that you can pick. And some of them work really well. Some of the mic ones have issues, but this one particularly actually does work. Now, a lot of different things that you can do in here. So THX spatial audio, gimmicky type of virtual surround sound, not real surround sound. If you're looking for that, it's not going to happen with stereo headphones. Like, if there's two drivers, it's not going to work out. But, it is a cute effect if you're into that type of thing. It makes a lot of stuff sound closer. A lot of ambient sounds like wind and stuff like that. I actually do turn it on sometimes. If the drivers were better, I'd actually use it more. But these are some of the presets that you have by default. In fact, you can just change these on the headset itself. If I'm pressing these buttons, it'll swap over, and it'll even show this in the bottom right as you're switching over. Which one that you're actually on. And then if you're holding the button in, then you can switch it to the esports. And now I've had this on Call of Duty. Now this is such an obnoxious preset that you would think that this just jumbles everything up. It makes it so unclear to hear things. It was a terrible experience for me personally. But there's all these different types of presets that you can have, depending on what you want. Like I said, I keep mine standard and I put this custom, and this one's flat because actually, interestingly, there's no flat by itself. And I believe some of these I just messed with myself just to see what they were like. Yeah, because this is what they actually are at by default. I just went ahead and put these back to what they are, but really fully featured EQ. Got the 10 band just like there is. And it even shows down here the sub bass, the bass, low mids, mid range, all that stuff. So you should see if someone is telling you, oh, you need to boost the upper mids. Well, okay, that's what I'm talking about, that 4 kilohertz range. You know what I'm saying? You can get a good idea of what people are talking about. Now, this is just the sound as far as the headphone audio. You can also go to the enhancements for other things like the bass boost, vocal clarity, just in general, sound normalization. Do not disturb. This will, affect the Bluetooth. This was the mic as I demonstrated before, and wireless power saving so that you can make sure that this doesn't turn off, after a certain time. And this is just going to be like a video that plays so that it can give you like an example of like how the audio is supposed to sound and stuff like that. You know how THS, makes that sound. Honestly, this software is really good because it actually works, and that custom preset, you can save it to the device itself so that you can access this with Bluetooth. You can also access it with like a console. That's something that you cannot do on the Cloud 3 wireless. Now, when it comes to the comfort and build quality, I love the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless so much more. But you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro 2023 first so that I can explain why from this perspective. Because a lot of people really do like the way that this feels. So neither of these devices have swivel at all. There is this cloth padding. The ear cushions, they're not very thick. They have like a little bit of like you can see pushing it in. They have some give, but not a whole lot. So they're not that soft over long periods of time. All plastic build here except for these adjustment forks, which are very slightly thicker than the BlackShark V2, the wired version, also the V2 Pro original, which is interesting that these are thicker because these are incredibly thin still. Now, when taking a look at the listed specs, the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023, 320 grams, Cloud 3 wireless, 329 grams. Now, with the microphone, it's actually a little bit more. I don't actually have a scale on me to say one more or the other, but to me, the Cloud 3 wireless does feel heavier. Might come down to the way the weight is distributed. They're definitely heavier than the wired versions of both of these devices. You will feel the weight a little bit. It's not anywhere close to the level. This is like 490 plus grams. the Odyssey Maxwell, but you will feel these over time. Now the Cloud 3 wireless has this super soft pleather, the ear cushions, the most comfortable that I've ever used. The only thing that's more comfortable than this headset honestly is the wired version, just because it's lighter. Now the thing is, I don't know, I go back and forth because this one doesn't have that wire, so it's better than the Cloud 3 wire in that sense, but it's also heavier, so there's that give and take there. Either way, love this when it comes to the comfort. Mostly plastic here, but it's got these thick aluminum adjustment forks, not quite as thick as on the Cloud 2, but you can change the size of these, like that a lot. Can't get enough of how soft these pads are. So a lot of this will come down to if you like pleather, if you like the type of memory foam that's inside the Cloud 3 wireless, or if you want something that's more of a cloth type of material and you want something that doesn't have quite that same level of padding inside, then you'd be more of a fan of the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023. Now, as for my verdict, I recommend the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless, but I know there are a lot of fans of the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023, and for good reasons. The main thing is the microphone. This is just the best microphone of any gaming headset that I've used. If you like this type of cloth padding, then this is going to be a superior option to the Cloud 3 wireless. It also has Bluetooth so that you can use it on the go. You're going to be stuck using the Cloud 3 wireless at home, really like wherever you are plugged into that dongle. Actually, the dongle can plug into the phone, but wouldn't risk that because you might snap something. But for me, when it comes to comfort, this beats it out. Build quality with this sturdy adjustment forks, just the overall feel of it, definitely going to give this the win. Sound quality, headphone audio quality, there's absolutely no contest. So much better bass, clarity is better, soundstage is wide but without feeling like really artificially airy with really jumbled up mids and harsh treble. This is a lot more of a natural sound. If it had more bass, it'd be perfect, but hey, I know that they're looking for that competitive experience, so I recommend the HyperX Cloud 3 wireless. I find it way better for competitive gaming and just most things in general, but I know why there are a lot of fans of the BlackShark V2 Pro 2023, because this headset still really does do a lot of things right.